Welcome to Alberta Conservation Association's Harvest Your Own podcast, the resource for everything hunting, navigating through the field, the butcher shop, and the kitchen. Life is all about great food. Let's get started.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Brad Fenson, an avid outdoor enthusiast who has worked as a freelance journalist, photographer, and public speaker for over 3 decades. I have hunted, fished, and foraged all my life and hope to share my passion for the outdoors. Along the way, I want to encourage everyone to harvest wild proteins and enjoy the satisfaction of providing the next meal for your family. Our goal is to educate, entertain, and inspire individuals to get outdoors and create a connection between food, health, and your future meals. Welcome to Harvest Your Own. Today we have a guest from southern Alberta that we've had on before to talk about dog training and using a canine for hunting and just adding to the whole enjoyment of that hunting experience. Jalen Hulit from Alberta Conservation Association, biologist and coordinator of the Alberta Pheasant Release Program. Welcome, Jalen.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brad. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It's funny. A lot of people have their keen interest in hunting with different species, and ringneck pheasants are definitely high on the list for a lot of hunters in Alberta.
They are. Yeah, they are. They have a lot of interest from a lot of different people. Everyone from people with dogs to people just starting out hunting. They seem to hold high value to a lot of different hunters across the province.
Yeah, and when I stop to think about it, they're pheasants are very sly. An old rooster that's been hunted a lot, he seems to be able to even outrun and deke out even the best nose of a dog that's well trained for pheasants. And I think that's part of it is sometimes the challenge makes it more exciting.
Oh, definitely. I can't tell you how many times I've been out on the landscape chasing a wild rooster, and like you say, they seem to evade you pretty well, whether it's into a cattail marsh or into thick cover. They're pretty hard and to get out and pretty wild. So it's a lot of fun to get out there.
Yeah, it's I've had the honor of hunting behind some really good dogs over the years and watched them run figure eights in a field where a bird, must have been just doing everything in its power to lay down scent and turn this way and that way and back. I don't know if they're that smart that they can actually know if they're going back across their original scent, but it was pretty impressive what they laid down in terms of trying to get away.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty cool watching a good dog try to track down a wild rooster. It's pretty impressive to see which one will win. Yeah. And then if the dog ends up flushing it, it's a matter of actually being able to hit your target after that, which can be a challenge because they're pretty quick flyers too.
They are. Yeah, they're very fast birds once they get up and off the ground. But the good news is they often cackle pretty hard and give you that signal that things are up and running and get ready.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
We haven't had pheasants in Alberta for that long a period. They're not a native game bird. They're introduced. And we have to go back to the early 1900s when they were first brought into Alberta. Do you know much about the history of the ringneck pheasant?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, it was early 1900s. I believe it was around 1908 that the first kind of introduction of the pheasant happened in southern Alberta here. It was actually a group from Calgary, a group of avid hunters decided to release birds. I believe it was roughly 80 or 100 birds that they put out in the Strathmore area for release. And from that point on, they kind of took, and over the next 20 or so years, there was releases pretty much every year. I believe at one point there in the 1920s, farmers were actually even given birds, day-old chicks, and even pheasant eggs to raise and hatch to release across the province there. So, they with our landscape, they were able to take hold, and they've been on the landscape ever since in some capacity.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting species. They're they're a good watchdog or indicator of what the habitat's like. We go back 100 years when they first released those birds, and there was a lot more wetlands and cattails and fence rows and all kinds of native habitat that was out on the land to help support them. But farming practices have changed over the years, and clean fields and farming an entire quarter section corner to corner is important for agricultural producers, but it certainly has had an impact on our upland game birds and other species.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's farming practices and the way urbanization has taken place over the last 60, 70, 80 years has really, like you said, changed things for upland game birds, but not only them, all species of wildlife across the landscape. Since World War II, with the change of how agriculture and farming practices have, taken shape, like you say, habitat has decreased. There's been a change in irrigation, from big canal systems that flow across the landscape now to pipes that are, above ground and underground, which take away habitat as well. That has hurt game birds and pheasants specifically, but they have seemed to persist in populations throughout the province where there is good habitat, and I think that's the key here is if there is good habitat, you tend to find pheasants. So.
Yes, and we talked about the pheasant being so popular, and their numbers were quite high over the years. I'm not sure if you know this, but our pheasants used to attract a lot of celebrities, the likes of John Wayne and Bing Crosby, if people know who those are. Actors and singers that were well known in the day used to come up to Alberta in the 60s and 70s and stuff to hunt pheasants. That was that popular. So it's interesting to know a little bit of history about the bird, how it attracted people, what makes them so appealing to hunters, and what Alberta did to try to maintain their populations. There was a provincial hatchery for years that played a big role in terms of putting out birds that I guess you'd call it a put and take pheasant situation, where they, weren't introducing them to try to survive, but actually provide more of a hunting experience.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty neat. I didn't know that those celebrities are coming up to Alberta, but I have heard that Alberta, like the Dakotas were, back in the 60s and 70s, one of the hot spots for hunting pheasants.
Yeah.
With our landscape, with the agriculture land mixed with the native grass and things like that, it seemed to attract a lot of hunters up here, and we had good pheasant populations. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, like you said, our first hunting season in the province was 1932. That's when the first season opened up, and the government in 1945 decided to create a hatchery in Brooks for, like you say, to add pheasants to the landscape for hunting opportunity. I believe it was in the first 10 or 15 years of the hatchery being around, there was over 50,000 pheasants that was put out on the landscape.
Wow.
And it grew from there. And the hatchery was around until 2013, I think, is when it officially closed its doors. So it was around for quite a while and put quite a few pheasants onto the landscape across the province.
Yeah, I mean, in the day, it was a state-of-the-art facility. Like, they produced a lot of birds and had the capacity to do even more. But it was certainly built for sportsmen in mind and for keeping birds on the landscape and drawing people to Alberta.
For sure. Yeah, I think it had the capacity to raise 200,000 pheasants. I don't know if it ever got to that point, but that's how big of a facility it was. So
right.
You can imagine throughout from 1945 to 2013, there was a lot of birds that went through that facility that got put on the landscape.
No doubt. Now that you coordinate the program, the hatchery isn't in operation. Where does Alberta get its birds?
Yeah, so we took over the program in 2014. So there was couple year shift there where Upland Birds Alberta, a group that was created, actually took over their releases for a few years until ACA came in the fold. And then, like you say, when ACA took over the releases in 2014, there was no more Brooks Hatchery. So we actually reached out to McFarland Pheasants in Wisconsin and have been getting our birds through them for the last number of years, 10 or so years. They are the largest, I think, pheasant hatchery in North America. So they create quite a few pheasants and know the ins and outs of how to produce high quality birds and everything like that. Starting this year, we are actually getting some of our pheasants from Alberta. We're having a grower in Strathmore raise about 10,000 birds for us to supplement birds coming from McFarland. So it's good to see that we are getting some birds locally grown here in Alberta now again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This podcast is produced for Harvest Your Own, a program dedicated to those who want to reconnect with food and health through their experiences outdoors. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a resource for individuals to learn more about hunting and the outdoors. There's information to get you started and ensure that your compass stays pointed in the right direction to be successful. Where's your next meal coming from?
You talk about high quality birds. Are there different subspecies of ringnecks or different, I don't know what the right word is, not all pheasants are the same. Do we get different types that are brought in?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know the exact number of how many some subspecies of ringneck pheasants there are, but there is quite a few, and we have gotten a few different ones over the years. The most common are just the standard Chinese ringneck pheasants. I think everyone seems to know, and that's what everyone see the picture of a pheasant. That's what that is. But we brought in Idaho bluebacks before. They're a little more blue and green in color, and they're kind of a little bit of a smaller bird, but they tend to be a lot more flighty and stuff like that. So it's really good for the hunter with that subspecies because they're good runners, being a little lighter, good flyers. So it makes it quite a bit more of a challenge for their dogs and their shooting. We've also brought in melanistics over the last few years. Same thing. There's subspecies of the Chinese ringneck pheasant. They only difference is their color pigmentation. So they are very dark. They're almost black looking. They have a lot of deep dark purples and almost look green when they're in the light, but they're pretty cool and been pretty popular. They're a bit of a bigger bird, so a little more meat on them, which I think a lot of people who are harvesting game birds like. And then we have brought in a few other species along the way here and there, but those are kind of the most common ones that have been brought up.
Yeah, and it's nice to have the diversity as well. We see that in the trout hatcheries and stuff. They raise different varieties of rainbow trout because some will grow faster, some are more, fight harder, and there's different characteristics. So having the bluebacks, they are smaller birds, but they're very sporting. I bring up the question because I've been at some of the pheasant release sites where people shoot different birds. And they're like, what's wrong with this one? Look at it, it's so small. It's about half the size. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a different subspecies, and it's out there so that you can have more opportunity, more fun, and rise to the challenge is how we'll put it.
Exactly. It's amazing when you, like you say, with the trout hatcheries or the pheasants, when you start digging into the different subspecies of a species, you can get quite the variety of size and characteristics and things like that just make hunting or fishing a different challenge that certain subspecies wouldn't bring otherwise.
Absolutely. Different challenges, different rewards.
Exactly.
Is there any difference to the dog, or can he pick it up no matter what subspecies it is?
I've never noticed it. I don't think there's any difference. I haven't heard that from anyone hunting. I think for a dog, a pheasant is a pheasant, no matter what. But I think the only difference is some like for us hunting, they create different challenges. I think for the dog, they create different challenges because some subspecies like they run a lot more than before they fly. Other subspecies, the bigger birds want to sit still more, and then they'll flush right at your feet to the dog's nose, kind of thing, which could create different challenges. But no, I think for a dog, a pheasant is a pheasant.
Yeah, it's interesting. Probably body size is more important for putting off more scent or less, but it'd be interesting to know what the dog thinks of the different species. Something that they can't communicate to us, but I'm sure they can tell a hun from a pheasant and different things like that. So
no doubt.
Let's jump right into our release program for the year. How many birds are going to hit the landscape this year, approximately?
Yeah, so it's about just over 25,000 pheasants again this year. That's kind of where we've been sitting around for the last 5 or 6 years. In 2014, when we first took over the program, we were at about 17,000 birds, and we've slowly increased that number. And for the past 5 or so years, we've been kind of right above 25,000 birds that we're putting out throughout the province.
Yeah, and when does the stocking start? When do you start putting birds out?
Yeah, so the stocking starts September 1st. So the sites that are in the regions where the season opens September 1st, they'll be ready to hunt on September 1st. There'll be birds on the ground for the morning, so people can anticipate if they go out opening day that there will be birds released.
Oh, that's pretty special. We talk about the zones where it's open September 1st. That's up in the Peace Country and the Parkland zones?
Yeah, so basically make sure to check your regulations beforehand. But every WMU that's 200 or above with a pheasant season, it's open September 1st. So all the prairie WMUs, so that's 100, is October 15th, but the rest are all September 1st. And they run until, I believe it's January 15th they go until most of those zones, whereas the prairie WMUs go until the end of November. Right.
Lots of opportunity. Like, why would someone want to get out September 1st? There's so much vegetation. It's green.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, especially if you're hunting wild birds where there is that, even into the early parts of October, you can get some smaller pheasants that aren't quite fully mature yet, depending on the hatch success and hatch time and things like that of the broods. So, there is a lot of time to get out there, and later into the season, the bigger and hardier the birds are. And like you say, the hunting may be a little easier after there's been some vegetation that's been trampled down or got snow on and flattened a little bit. But with some of our release sites, we try to help the hunters out by doing some mowing and things like that, creating pathways on the release sites. Not only does that help the hunter, but it also helps create better habitat for species, not only pheasants but all wildlife.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important that early season might be a little bit more challenging because there is more vegetation and more cover, but that helps hold the birds there. If there's good cover there and feed, they don't need to go anywhere else.
Exactly. No, exactly. That's the key with our release sites is we're looking for sites that have good habitat, good cover, food sources, things like that, to hold the birds, because that's the name of the game is to get these birds onto these release sites and allow people opportunity, and the longest opportunity possible, the best. So if we are releasing on a site and the birds are getting pushed off immediately, it might be fun for the one or two people who get out there and get to experience that, but for the others who who come later, it could make hunting a little more challenging. But again, that's also hunting too. So there's no guarantee on the site, but the more cover we have and the more structure available, the better chance of running into pheasants is. So.
Yeah, I like the fact that you said there's no guarantees. What people need to remember, this isn't a shooting preserve. This is still a hunt. The birds are put out into native habitat or managed habitat, and from there they're not controlled. It's a hunting situation. You need to go find them. You need to flush them. You need to shoot straight. You need to rise to the challenge in order to find those birds and hopefully put one or two of them in your vest.
Exactly. No, exactly. I think that's one of the key things to remember when heading out to these sites. They are getting stocked similar to a trout pond being stocked, but like you say, us releasing the pheasants onto these sites is just a small factor when it comes time to hunt them. So like you say, there's no guarantee, but the most we can do is try to put the birds on sites and in areas where it gives hunters the best opportunity to harvest them and stay on the sites for the longest amount of time to have the most people have encounters with the birds as possible.
Yeah, I know
That's what they are for. So
right, I noticed most of the release sites that I've been to are multiple quarter sections in size. They're big enough that there's lots of room to accommodate several parties of hunters, keep things safe, and try to maintain those birds within the property.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. We especially in kind of central Alberta and northern Alberta, we do have some big sites for that reason. They are busy sites because they are closer to the larger city centers of the province. But like you say, they're big enough and they have good habitat that it does keep birds on the sites. And every year for most of our sites, we're doing improvements to habitats for pheasants and other wildlife. So every year there seems to be something different done on many of our sites that improves that habitat to keep wildlife species on the sites for the hunting season.
This podcast was made possible by Alberta Conservation Association and the Harvest Your Own community. If you're interested in harvesting your own food, there's a comprehensive collection of information to gain insight and knowledge. Head to the field, harvest your own protein, prepare it, and taste the results. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a library of information from getting started and geared up to processing, butchering, and cooking wild game to make the connection between health and food.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting question to stop hunters in the field that go out to the sites and say, how many release sites do you think we have in Alberta? Do you think the average hunter would know or even be close to the right answer?
I'm not sure. I think they would, just with with ACA, we've made all of the release sites public now. So back in 2014, when ACA took over the release program, the only sites that were public were the ones that were in the regulations, hunting regulations, and I believe that was 2 or 3 of the sites. Now you can go online, and all 41 of our sites that we have across the province are on our websites with the site boundaries and has a whole bunch of information on the site right on the website.
Right. I think it's fantastic that there's 41 sites. I mean, that provides opportunity through a very large portion of the province, certainly centered around urban centers where there's a lot of hunters that might have, let's call it more challenges, getting to know rural people, getting permission, knowing where to find birds, having time to get out, having release sites where you can go out without having to plan much is pretty special.
It is, and that's what we're trying to do with this program. Is we're trying to create hunting opportunity, like you say, especially around the urban centers. And we've actually, since taking over the program, we have, I think, increased the sites north of Calgary. We've added 5 sites throughout the years. quite a few close to Edmonton, as well as 2 in the Peace River country. So it's created a lot of opportunity, and it's like you say, it's really good, especially for new hunters too, who may not have the experience of going out and knocking on doors, and getting permission for hunts that way. It gets people started with the hobby, something more easily, where they can go online, find one of the sites close to them, and go experience pheasant hunting that way. So we do see, I think, a lot of new hunters using these sites throughout the year.
Yeah, I'd actually throw out a challenge to people: rather than find the one closest to home, try to go and hit some different sites. Instead of going to the same one every time, go online, Alberta Conservation Association, and find out, where something is that's 2 or 3 hours drive away, and go experience a new part of Alberta, see some new habitat, see if the birds act the same, enjoy a different challenge in terms of hunting pheasants.
For sure. No, that's exactly it. And, it's from my experience, it's a totally different hunting, up in the Edmonton or Peace River area versus in southern Alberta. In that central and northern Alberta areas, you get a lot more trees and a lot more cover for birds to hide, whereas in southern Alberta, there's a lot less trees, but, you get the grass and the shrubs and things like that. So, it seems that the birds are more likely to run and flush a little further away from you than in other release sites, which, is a totally different hunting experience, and creates, like you say, its own different challenges, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I don't want to spoil some sites, but head far north and hunted some pheasants in that early season, and it seems most hunters are out chasing elk and moose and other things, and there's some great opportunities. It's a lot less crowded, and I think it's because hunters have so many opportunities. So, if you wanted to try pheasants, that early season can really provide some unique opportunities. There's lots of cover, the birds are there, and people are spread out because there's different opportunities to grab their attention.
Exactly. No, for sure. We see that quite a bit, with the bow season in September, and upland game birds opening up in September. Like you say, there's a lot of opportunity. And there's no shortage in Alberta for hunting any species. So,
right.
Like you say, get out there and enjoy pheasant hunting. Those northern sites in the parts of September there, I've heard nothing but good things about those 2 sites up in the Peace Country.
Right. Yeah, they're best kept secrets.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people think that you have to be out hunting the day that the release truck comes, but I'm here to tell you, I've got friends with dogs, and they go any time, and they always seem to find birds.
Yeah, that's right. We try our best to get as many birds onto these sites as possible, within reason. Again, there's all these logistical restraints and financial restraints, but for the most part, we're releasing birds upwards of 3 times a week on many of these sites, and at some of these sites, you're getting upwards of 80 birds a release.
Wow.
On these sites. So there's quite a few birds getting put out there week after week, and like you say, you don't have to hit it on the day where the truck shows up, because there is opportunity to get out there where you'll find birds, even though a release truck hasn't been there for a day or 2.
Yeah, obviously, if there's some larger releases with 80 birds, over 200 birds a week, even if hunters are successful at 2 birds a day, there's lots of opportunity, lots of residual birds, and just push the cover. It's the best way to put it, is try to think like a pheasant, and where would you go to avoid hunters and dogs?
Exactly. And these releases are randomized throughout the week. So that's another thing to keep in mind too. So there's some of these sites are getting 3 releases a week, and they could be at any time. So if you can only get out there on a Wednesday, that doesn't mean that you won't have good success. They're randomized throughout the entire week, and every week's different on when the releases are happening and things like that.
Yeah, I'm glad it's randomized. Otherwise, you'd have a lineup of people waiting for the truck every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock or something like that. It helps spread out hunters, helps spread out success, and just provides more opportunity overall.
Exactly. And we try to randomize it as best as we can. With this day and age, as we all know, with technology, it's pretty easy to get on the phone when you see the release truck and text your buddies, who then text 10 more buddies, who then text 10 more buddies that the truck is on the road. So
yeah,
we try to randomize the schedule as much as possible to stop that. We'll even randomize the order on which we drop birds off at, and things like that, just to try to switch it up as best as we can to hopefully avoid that lineup and everything of hunters waiting for the truck when they get to the site.
Yeah, it's not a shooting preserve. It's not like going shooting clays where you want to see them come off the truck. I think that's really an important message. Hunter ethics is really critical in terms of visiting these sites. And, if you're there when the release truck comes, what would you recommend people do?
Yeah, for sure. So like you say, these sites are very busy. I think we've in the province doubled the number of pheasant license sales in the last 10 years, which I mean is a great thing and a testament to the work that ACA is doing with this pheasant release program. But that being said, it means that it's busier on these sites, and like you say, hunting ethics and safety is the most paramount on these sites, because they can get quite busy. So when the release truck shows up, we like to ask people, just to wait till they're off the truck to continue their hunting. We have it, quite often where there'll be quite a few people on the site when the truck shows up, and 9 times out of 10 people, take that opportunity to give their dog a rest, give them some water, or take a rest themselves, have some breakfast, granola bar, drink some water themselves, and just kind of sit back and relax, because I mean, nothing's better than being outside and hunting. So take that 15-20 minutes to take a breather before heading back out. Once the release truck's off the site, continue on. But it can get pretty chaotic if people are trying to shoot birds coming off the truck, and it's not safe. So just for the safety of everyone, we ask just to kind of refrain from shooting until the truck is off the site.
Yeah, those are all important things to consider, Jalen. I think that the best action to take when the release truck comes is sit down, have a coffee, like you said, water your dog, enjoy the sight, but let the birds hit the ground. Let them move out a little bit. Let them disperse. Make it a hunt. Don't be in a rush to get after them. Let the people that drive the trucks and release the birds do their job. Let them get off the site before you even start moving again. And I think that everyone will enjoy the experience more, and it also adds to the safety and ensures that nobody gets hurt or that tempers get flared or anything like that.
Exactly. No, that's exactly it. Like, especially on lots of these sites where we're releasing, 80 or more birds a release, there's plenty of birds to go around if you're there when the release truck shows up. So like you say, sit back and enjoy it. And, usually it's a good morning or afternoon to be out. So, there's no point rushing to get back to the office or whatever you have to do, right? So
right.
just enjoy being in the field, and for the safety of everybody, just take your time and wait for the truck to be off the site.
Yeah. We've talked about safety here a fair bit. We've used the word. I'd always encourage people, it's not required in Alberta, but because you're on a place where there's multiple hunters often, wear a hunter orange, wear an orange hat, wear a vest, wear something that makes you visible, so that if there is a bunch of cover and trees and somebody's on the other side of it, there's a chance that they can see you through there. It just helps increase the safety of the site and ensures that nobody gets hurt or nobody's downrange of somebody shooting at some time during the day.
For sure. No, I think that's a great thing to do, is the kind of wear something that makes you more visible, like you say, especially in that central or northern part of the province where you have more of the treed and taller cover, like you say, with the amount of people that are using the sites. You never know what's around the corner and what's on the other side of the tree. So
Yep.
wearing something that's more visible is always beneficial when you're on these sites.
Right. Now, the boundaries of these properties are well marked. What should hunters do when they come to a boundary to hit the fence?
Well, they usually, like you say, they're well marked. They're on their website. There's signage when they get to most of the boundary. There's signs throughout. I mean, you might hit a spot where there isn't signage, but there's always opportunity to, if you hit the boundary on one side, to move a bit north or south or a different direction and continue hunting back, in a different direction. Lots of these sites are bordering private land and things like that. So we got to respect the neighboring landowners, as they are on board with allowing pheasant hunting in the area. So the more respect we can give them, the happier the neighboring landowners will be as well.
Yeah, and I bring it up because it is the responsibility of the hunter to know the boundaries. So
that's right.
You can look it up. You can use a GPS. There's all kinds of different ways to make sure you're on the property.
For sure, even on the app that AC has, that Discover Guide app, it has all the boundaries for all the sites too. And so you can kind of be able to reference yourself on the site and where you're at compared to the boundary and things like that to make sure you're still on the site.
Yeah. And if you see birds go off the site and you want to chase them, go ask for permission. That's how we have the right to do that in Alberta, to knock on a door, ask for permission. And it's pretty nice to be able to do that, whether we get granted permission or not. Go give it a try. It's all part of the game.
Exactly. For sure. Yeah. Like you say, lots of these landowners, are very happy if people are knocking on doors and asking for permission that way, instead of seeing someone walking through their field going after a pheasant or something.
Yeah. So. These sites do get a lot of foot traffic during the season, and I would highly encourage anybody that's out there to make sure you pick up your empty shell hells. Don't leave any garbage behind. And if you see that somebody else missed something or might have fallen out of their jacket, pick it up, because it doesn't take long to accumulate and make the site look a little unsightly. We also don't want to clean our birds on site. It's a huge predator attraction, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, that's exactly it. And, especially with lots of these sites having, primary parking areas, only one or two throughout the site, them getting high volume use. Every little bit of garbage adds up, and like you say, it attracts predators, and not only that, but just makes things untidy and not well received. These sites, are a privilege, and should leave them how we found them. So that's picking up, like you say, shotgun shells and garbage, and even in the parking areas. It's good practice to even pick up after your dog, because these areas are getting used quite frequently, and if you're not picking up after your dog, there can be landmines all throughout the parking lots and stuff like that. No one wants to step in and stuff like that. So, and as far as bird cleaning goes, that's exactly it. If you're cleaning your birds on site, it's going to attract more predators, which will in the end end up, harvest or killing some of the birds on the site that the people want to hunt and harvest themselves. So we ask to refrain from that and, take the birds back home with you to clean.
Right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, and your words, your parting words here are pretty important. It all comes down to respect and privilege, right? This is a privilege to be able to get out and have these opportunities. It's not your right. It's not your right to shoot a limit of birds every time you go out there. It's all about having fun, keeping the hunt in hunting.
Exactly. I couldn't say that better. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to create more hunting opportunities for Albertans across the province, and allowing Albertans to buy a pheasant license and use these sites. Doesn't happen in too many other jurisdictions, and it's a great opportunity, like you say, to get out there, have some fun with friends, family, dogs, you name it. So yeah, just be respectful of other hunters, be respectful of the release drivers when they're on the site, and it'll be a great season.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It's not far away, and I just want to thank you for your commitment to this program. You're probably an unsung hero here because you put a lot of smiles on people's faces during the year that you don't realize. And as a hunter and an upland game bird enthusiast, I appreciate what you're doing, coordinating this program, making it happen, and growing it, making it even bigger than when you took it over. So thanks, Jalen, and thanks to Alberta Conservation Association for keeping hunters first and foremost.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. It was great to chat with you about this, and appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, hope to see you on site somewhere.
You betcha.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Take care.
Thanks.
We hope to inspire people to reconnect with nature and appreciate where your food comes from by harvesting your own. For more information on getting started or to learn specifics about the Field to Fork experience, visit harvestyourown.ca and follow on Facebook and Instagram. Check back often for new material, recipes, and videos that are posted regularly. Please subscribe to Harvest Your Own podcast and take the time to rate and review the show to help us build a dedicated core of passionate hunters as our regular audience. Until next time, embrace the outdoors and all it has to offer. Thanks for joining us.